Okay. Hello, hello. Mic check. Mic microphone. We have audio. Weekly stream is live. Come hang. Live. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the stream. I've been starting the stream a little later than I used to, but honestly, I just have been sleeping in longer. My sleep schedule is just kind of all over the place. I was on like a really good kick where I was waking up around like 10, 11 in the morning, but lately I've been waking up at like 1 or 2, and it's currently 3. So just to give you an idea. But you know, what are you gonna do? How's everybody going? Hello, Sabrina, Basic Butch, Whale God. What's up, Julian? Snappling Cats, what's up? Appreciate it, Butch. Finally early. Yes, you are. I guess the when I stream at different times, it allows different people with different schedules to come in. Electric Lomain, thank you for the super chat. How are you working through your funk? Well, I guess I'm pretty much out of my funk now. I get, for the most part. I just had to it's all about willpower and self-determination, basically. I just had to get up and do the shit that I needed to do for real. I also get paid in a couple days, which can be motivating. But mostly it's just me being like, all right, man, gotta fucking get up. Got stuff to do. Sometimes it's good though to sort of have those like down moments, because you can kind of contrast how how you are. You sort of contrast what you're supposed to be doing versus what you could be doing. Leon, thank you for the super chat, $2.99. But like when you see yourself sort of doing, just being like really lazy and unmotivated, and you kind of see it and you're like, well, yeah, that's definitely not what I should be doing. So you can kind of have an image in your head of what to avoid, rather than just having sort of this vague, abstract idea of what to avoid. You actually experience it. But you have to, you have to have the self-awareness to understand that what you're doing is something to avoid. Maybe, I mean, I don't think it's seasonal depression, but it's something like that. I have not seen Infinity War. I hope to see it within the next couple of days. What's been the response to the Simpsons video? Well, it's mostly a positive response, but the video is being shared a lot. I think YouTube is recommending the video to people, so I'm getting a lot of response from people who aren't my subscribers. And, there's a lot of the typical stuff of, what do you mean? What do you mean Apu is racist? Which to me, like, sort of indicates they didn't actually watch the video, because the video is not really about Apu being racist. But it's not, it's nothing like intensely vitriolic. It's just a lot of people who just are familiar with this story that have an opinion on it. But the reaction has been mostly pretty positive, and there were a couple of thoughtful disagreements as well. See, that's the problem with YouTube comments, and that's why it's like kind of frustrating, because YouTube comments are either so positive and agreeable that they're not useful, or they're so vitriolic and hateful that they're not useful. Like, it's rarely in between. I do not have an Xbox One. Well, some people just had disagreements with different things that I said in the video. Like, like, for example, one thing that I argued in the video is that it's not as surprising as people think it is that the line was delivered by Lisa, and someone had a disagreement with that, which is sort of basically like, I guess their argument was that even though Lisa sometimes does act kind of weird on the show, she usually by the end of the episode realizes the error of her ways, and this didn't really happen in this episode. So that's something. And there was some other stuff I can't exactly remember. And there are people that emphasize and reiterated that Apu is not, it's not like he's just some one-dimensional stereotype. Like, he's a pretty complex character, and he's a pretty, like, sympathetic character. But you know, that's not something that I ever disagreed with or said was wrong. And again, that's the video was not really to talk about Apu specifically. But you know, that's a it's a true point. I just never disagreed with it. Hi, bro. You're pretty cool. Appreciate it. In Ugala. I don't know if I said that right. I think Lisa is often a mouthpiece for the writers, but I also think that like other characters are too. Homer is often, Bart is often, even Marge is often. And all of those characters also are used as tools to satirize, you know, their respective tropes or whatever. I think I saw that one about the black guy going undercover in alt-right, or I saw something about this person. I haven't seen the other one. I look like your dad when we had your hair. Cool. I didn't know I look like a dad now. Got my protein shake. Hard to imagine Simpsons satire ever being as brilliant as Homer's phobia again. It is hard to imagine. Because The Simpsons was so good for a long time. But like I said in the video, they still make good episodes every now and then, at least in my opinion. And honestly, I think the show is pretty solid overall. It's just not like as amazing as it once was. But they still have great episodes for sure. But, you know, back in the day, it was just like every episode was like really good. Yeah, YouTube comments are just terrible, dude. Like if you go by YouTube comments, you would think that, you know, this country or this world has just been taken over by just evil bigots. But I suppose that people with extreme opinions are more likely to comment than people who, you know, who have more measured opinions. What's my thing? Oh. And I think certain audiences or certain creators cultivate, you know, more thoughtful audiences. But just overall, just on any random YouTube video, the comment section is just ridiculous. How's the audience survey going after you shared it on YouTube? I haven't really looked at it yet. I'm still gonna announce it in a video. I put it in. I made a post on YouTube but I think I'm gonna announce it one more time on a video, and then I'm gonna look at it, and I'll do an analysis of it and put it on my second channel. I mean, anything that involves race is just automatically, it's automatically going to be shitlord country in the comments, like 100% of the time. And it didn't used to be like that. I feel like YouTube used to be sort of a home for more progressive people, but that is definitely not the case anymore. I don't know anything about the Toronto van attack. Have you watched Evangelion? Yeah, a long time ago. Neon Genesis Evangelion. I don't really, I don't, I don't really get anime. Or I guess it just doesn't appeal to my sensibilities most of the time. Sometimes it does. I live in Alabama. Oh, I did actually read about that. I don't know the details of it. I don't know enough about it to comment. I've seen the new H Bomber Guy video. I have. It's pretty intense. I sort of didn't know what to do with my life after I finished it. Yeah, I've heard of Full Metal Alchemist, and this is the thing. People recommend that to me all the time, but I find it pretty boring. Like, unlike, I feel like it's pretty, it's coherent and it looks cool. But the thing with anime to me is usually just really super esoteric and incoherent. So it's like, this looks cool, but I have no idea what is going on at all. Or B, it's just really, really, the pace is just terrible and it's boring. And there's like long spurts of nothing, interspersed with short bursts of action. That's usually how most anime that I've seen personally is. And that's how Full Metal Alchemist is fucking boring. Like, it's just like, it'll be like nothing happening for like 20 minutes. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of how Evangelion is too. It's just like there's like amazing action scenes, but then 4 episodes of literally nothing, just people talking. It's like, I get it, you're building the story, but that's just, it's pacing is an important, tool of creating fiction, dude. What's up, Kyle? I remember reading some articles about how Alabama is the poorest area in the entire developed world. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Alabama is pretty poor. Either Alabama or Mississippi is like probably the poorest state. Do you like baseball? Do you play sport? I'm not that big a fan of baseball. I don't like watching it. But I respect people who play baseball. I don't really play any sports. I should though. I need to get some exercise. Woke up to half my tooth breaking off. God damn. I need to go to the dentist, to be honest. I haven't been in years. I don't really mind sexually pandering stuff as, I mean, I don't know. That's not really, that, that's not like really a reason that I would stop watching, but I can see how it could be off-putting to other people. But I assume that anime has gotten better over time, but because of just growing up and seeing so many that I didn't like, uh, I kind of stopped watching it. So I'm not that familiar with any of the newer animes. I like I think Cowboy Bebop is one of the greatest things ever made. And I got really into Naruto for a second, but then Naruto just suffered from the same shit. Whereas like, well, this is boring now. They literally had a stint of maybe like 100 filler episodes. It's like, really, dude? Is that real? Have I been to a strip club? I have been. I'm not really a fan of strip clubs. I've only seen a couple episodes of One Punch Man, but it seems to suffer from the same pacing issues where it's like most of the episode is not much happening, and then there's like a couple of really intense action scenes. But I'm not sure. I could be wrong. Have I studied the works of Freud, Marx, or Nietzsche? Um, not. I mean, I'm vaguely familiar with all of those people, but I haven't sat down and studied them deeply. I had to. I studied Nietzsche in college. Like I did a whole semester on Nietzsche. I don't. I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure that each of them has said at least one or two smart things, but I don't. I don't remember thinking, "Hey, man, this person has got it down pat. And we need to implement their ideas immediately." I don't think I feel that way about either of them, about any of them. But you know, all right, Sabrina, thanks for coming. I have not watched True Detective. 80s shows. I've seen, I've seen many episodes of all of all of those shows, and I think that they're fun to watch. I wouldn't say that they're like amazing shows. I mean, like A Team is hilarious, you know. Um, Knight Rider is hilarious. They're all hilarious. I think I'm more into like probably more into 80s movies than 80s TV shows. Definitely more into 80s music. I have seen Serial Experiments Lane, and it's a really interesting idea, but again, it's fucking boring. I've seen too much good fiction for me to like sacrifice entertainment, you know, just for a good idea, because it can be done. Oh no, I never caught One Day at a Time. I forgot about that. I need to write this stuff down. I'm drinking a protein shake. That's basically my breakfast. I've seen a little bit of Avatar, and it seemed fine. And it could, maybe it's just my American sensibilities, but I don't know, man. I feel like pacing, like basic pacing, that just seems like such a universal thing, but maybe I'm wrong. And the fact that there are anime that I like, and other Japanese media that I like. Whoops. Favorite 80s band? That's kind of hard. A band is, I guess, a band that was active in the 80s. Like, can I say Queen? They started in the 70s, but they were active in the 80s. Can I say Michael Jackson? Shot to the heart. I have seen Wolf's Rain. I've only seen the Cartoon Network version though, so maybe it's inferior to the original Japanese dub or whatever. Again, pretty boring. And I kind of feel like I'm not one of those like contrarians. Like I like enjoying stuff. Like I'm the person that says The Simpsons is still good. Like I'm literally not a person that just hates stuff just to hate it. But I'm telling you, like I've just had a poor experience with anime. How's life? Life's good. I got moves to make, but I am content. Well, I'm not content, but I'm happy. Do I like Star Wars? I think Star Wars is fine. I probably don't like Star Wars as much as other people, but I don't hate Star Wars. Is Beyonce your Lord and Savior? Not really. Beyonce is good though. Honestly, like growing up, I tried to dislike Beyonce because I felt like I was supposed to as a young man. Because I mean, I would say that her music is aimed at young women, but she just kept making bangers over and over again. She made so many amazing songs, and I was like, eventually, I was just like, Beyonce's dope. Beyonce's super dope. But I never got into this sort of cult-like worship of her. I mean, she's just like a person, and she doesn't even seem like that, what's the word I'm thinking of? She doesn't seem like that poignant of a person. She's just a woman who knows how to make good songs. Like, this idea of her like being sort of like culturally like important is kind of weird to me. Like, she just makes good songs. Like, she has never said anything that was that important. She just makes really good songs. Did you see Infinity War has already made more money than Justice League's entire run? I didn't see that, but I believe it. I could have probably predicted that. Thoughts on Trump now taking credit for Korean peace agreements? I don't know a whole lot about that. I saw a headline that says that the South Korean president actually credits Trump for helping that, though. So I don't know if he needs to take 100% credit, but what are your thoughts on Bill Maher, especially his recent interview with Jordan Peterson? Yeah, I don't know, man. Bill Maher, I think Bill Maher is one of those people that tries really hard to be against the grain. Like, I think he feels uncomfortable when he finds himself being too agreeable. And I don't know. He's sort of like he's impressed by people who are like him, who are just like intentionally disagreeable. Because at the end of the day, Bill Maher I probably agree with Bill Maher on like 95% of things. But he's more willing to invite someone like Jordan Peterson, with whom he probably disagrees on almost everything, just because the guy is controversial and, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, he did the same thing with Milo Yiannopoulos, another guy with whom he disagrees with on probably everything. But just because he's controversial and goes after the PC people, I don't know. It seems like he doesn't research his guests very well. I'm not sure if that's the case, but that's sort of the impression I get. Because someone like Jordan Peterson, who's like pretty like, you know, he's like religious and he's like pretty strongly talk shit about atheism and stuff like that. You know, that's Bill Maher's whole jam, is how silly religion is. And you would think that he wouldn't be so like chummy with them, you know? I did not delete the 2 janitor. It's still up. I'm not sure why you weren't able to find it. I still plan to continue the Harry Potter reviews, but it's probably been like a year since the last video. But that'll happen. I'm actually like in the process of like, I'm probably, the stream highlights that I used to put on this channel, I'm probably going to put them on my second channel, as well as more stuff like the Harry Potter reviews and just other stuff. It stopped scrolling. Oh, my bad. That's my bad. I think Bill Maher has sort of a track record of being regressive on trans issues, though. So I guess that makes sense. Do you think Jordan Peterson is really all that important? Well, insofar that insofar as he has such a massive platform, I mean, he's become important. I don't think he says anything that's worth listening to. As far as I can tell, I don't think I've ever heard him say anything that was worth listening to. How come no one ever says my good? I don't know. Maybe you should start it. Yeah, I think Bill Maher just likes to go against the grain. And I don't really have a problem with him having someone like Jordan Peterson on his show, because Jordan Peterson is famous and he's a public figure that is making waves, and it makes sense that he would get invited on a show. But don't, as a person who's supposed to be sort of like a intellectual on the left, don't just let people come on your show and say a bunch of nonsense and just like agree with it. Do you think alt-right has been growing, or has it just become more vocal? Probably both. I mean, they've ramped up their recruitment for sure. There's definitely like young people who probably would have never even thought about alt-right or ethno states or any of that without, this trend of recruitment, without people like Richard Spencer, without useful idiots like anti-SJWs on YouTube basically making white supremacist arguments for them. So I think it's probably both. They're probably growing and it's become more vocal. Do you think America could or would ever have another military draft? It seems unlikely, but I could conceive of it. Do you think Islamic terrorism would be a thing if there wasn't Palestine-Israel situation and no Western world intervention in different countries? Yeah. Um, I don't know if it would be as bad as it is, but it would definitely be a thing because, you know, religion makes people do crazy stuff, especially a religion like that, where it's all about sort of like defending your religion and fighting against the infidels and the apostates and whatever the word I'm thinking of. I wouldn't be surprised if there were studies done on that, but I don't know of any. But I still think, this even though the alt right is growing, there's still like a pretty fringe group. But and I also think that half of the people in the group are just like trolls, and they're just there for the lulz, and they kind of understand that none of the shit that they want is ever probably going to happen. I seem tired. I'm good. I've only been up for like an hour, maybe that's why. Well, you know, like 2 hours now, but an hour before I started streaming. I've actually never seen Get Out, which is kind of a travesty, but I just missed it. I need to see it. Maybe I'll just like rent it or something. I don't I don't think that alt-right views are common. Conservative views are common, but like wanting to build an ethno state, that type of stuff, I don't think that's very common. maybe the argument that sort of like being strongly anti-immigrant, maybe that's common in America, but I'm still not sure about that. Especially among young people. I think it's a huge exaggeration to say that Mara is on par with Richard Spencer. Like, I don't even think that's close to true. I like Bernie Sanders. I have not seen Infinity War. I don't really support any kind of ethno state. For one, it's just like it's infeasible, and I don't know how it's gonna be achieved without like war, which I oppose. But I don't. It sort of it supports the idea that race is a thing, and it's not a thing, and we shouldn't be like moving more towards the establishment of racial categories. We should be moving away from the establishment of racial categories. Well, I think conservatism is common, but I don't think that conservatism and alt-right are the same thing. I don't think that racism is common. I think that, like, at least overt racism, I think that, you know, people being not having informed views about race is common. I think racial bias is common, and that's common among all races and all groups. But I don't think people just being overtly like white supremacists is common. At least not in America. I think ethnostates is a bad thing and an impractical thing. Am I going to do more collaborations with ContraPoints? I would love to if she wants to. I think she's like busy a lot. Like she spends a lot of time on her videos, but also I think she has like a long line of people that she wants to have on her channel. So, but I'm always down whenever she wants. Speaking of ContraPoints, you guys should watch her video, "Why White Nationalism is Wrong," for probably the best argument you're gonna see about why ethnostates are stupid, and why the concept of like white genocide is stupid. It's so funny how people here switch from super serious political questions to random pop culture stuff in a second. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess it's just because of what I've established that I'm interested in. So that's what people are here for and what they ask about. But that's fine. I mean, half the pop culture stuff I haven't even, I don't even know about. Like, I'd say about half the time when someone says, "Have you seen this? Have you seen that? What do you think about that?" I'm just like, I haven't seen it. Like, I'm pretty much out. I'm pretty out of the loop when it comes to pop culture, which is why I don't make that many videos about it. No, the main media that I consume is YouTube videos. I've like rarely watched TV. I rarely watch movies. I don't really keep up with music. I actually like. It was actually kind of fun though. For my last video, I watched like many episodes of The Simpsons, and it was like it was very fun to me. I've never seen BoJack Horseman. Sean did a good breakdown of. Wait, what is it? Of white genocide. I don't think I've seen that one by Sean. Am I concerned at all about the growth of the alt-right? Well, yeah. I don't think it should be growing. I don't want it to grow. I'm not exactly sure what to do about it though, besides trying to spread good ideas and making good arguments for my ideas and hoping that people think about them. What's up, Warp Scanner? Thoughts on the Casey Neistat? Oh, the 368 idea. Well, I need to go back and watch because I've missed a few videos of his, so I'm not exactly sure what the whole 368 thing is. But I've seen some more recent ones. So, but I think I'm missing context. So I need to like go back and watch the ones I missed. Stream isn't loading. Oh, it seems to be working for me. Did I see Hank Azaria's response to what's wrong with the poo? I saw his appearance on Colbert, which I thought was good. Is it growing? Last I heard it was shrinking. The alt-right? Maybe it is now. I mean, over the past few years it has definitely grown, but maybe it's finally shrinking again. Things got bad enough. Can you see yourself joining an armed revolution? Probably not. I think a lot of people think overt racism can never really make a comeback in this country. Well, I don't think that anyone should say that something never could happen. You never know what could happen, but we can talk about what's probable or what's likely to happen. And to some extent, it's like it's not that useful to talk about what could in some random unlikely universe happen. Is agnostic religion a thing? I thought being agnostic and being religious are different things inherently. Yeah, I don't know. Someone would have to explain that to me. I mean, I suppose you could have like religious traditions and sort of have like a guideline, like a moral guideline, without necessarily being certain that there's a God, but that just seems weird to me. I feel there is a healthy pushback to the far right in the last year or two after it kept on growing. Yeah, I think there's definitely been pushback, but um, I think not all of the pushback has been productive, but also, you know, I think part of their recruiting tool is to use that pushback in their favor. I'm not sure if that's effective, but and they sort of work in private, you know. So a lot of this like public pushback, I don't think they like really give a shit. But maybe it does like prevent other people from getting involved with that because they just don't want to deal with the social consequences. And to me, social consequences is probably the biggest deterrent to something like the alt-right. Which is why like these sort of like centrists that are like basically apologizing for them is so harmful in my opinion. Like I don't want like a person in the alt-right to watch my video and be like, yo, that guy looks like he could be my friend. But I think that happens with a lot of people. What do you think about the idea of conservatism being the new counterculture? I think that's pretty ridiculous. Especially if you're talking about America, because conservatism is America. Like this whole country. For one, the country is run by conservatives, literally. But conservative ideas are very very popular in America, and it's not counterculture at all. I agree that the internet has the power to destroy it. And I think this is why they've gone so hard on the internet. And this is also like I was talking about earlier, how, you know, YouTube comments are just like a bunch of shitlords basically. It's just because they've, you know, these groups, not even just alt-right, but just like these sort of this anti-progressive right-wing sort of ideology has just gone in super hard on the internet, and they've just basically told everyone, or like convinced everyone, that there's like this big conspiracy against them, that they need to speak up and they need to go comment on everything that even remotely seems like it's a little bit feminist or a little bit progressive. And now they've just like, you know, ruined the experiences on like almost every website. Do you think being Muslim and agnostic are mutually exclusive? Well, if you're talking about Muslim as a cultural tradition and not a religious tradition, then no. But if being a Muslim as a religious tradition, it doesn't make sense if you're agnostic. Because the Muslim religion is very clear about whether or not there's a God. Like I think that the traditionally like religion of Islam is pretty clear that there's a God and that there's only one of them. And that seems to be like directly in contradiction with what the word agnostic means. Conservative victimhood is incredibly overblown because it almost always involves groups that are rarely victimized, like white people and men. Doubt is an important component of any faith tradition. I completely disagree with that. Most religions are very clear that you shouldn't doubt that God is real, and it's bad to doubt. That's kind of what faith is. Faith is sort of like the answer to doubt. It's like, even though things seem like they're bad, or they seem like no one's watching, you still must believe, and that's a sign of virtue, is the fact that you believe even though you can't see it. What do you think about the idea that the Bill Cosby case is a conspiracy so you wouldn't buy a part of a broadcasting platform? Well, is there any evidence for that? I don't really care about conspiracies if it's just a random thing someone suggested. I mean, you could speculate that everyone of faith has doubt, but I don't know how you would go about demonstrating that. And of course, there's different groups and different churches and different mosques and different people who go about things differently. But if, definitely my church, doubt was not a good thing. It was not, it was considered non-virtuous to be doubtful. And I think it implies that in the Bible pretty heavily. I think it implies that in the Quran pretty heavily. But, there are probably different traditions that think about it differently. I did play Halo 3. I played it a lot, actually. I think being agnostic is doubting there's a God, but still hoping he's there, or following tradition just in case. I mean, I guess I could see that. It would be hard for me to, like, if you behave as if there's a God, it would be hard for me to buy the fact that you call yourself agnostic. But I mean, I guess you get to call yourself whatever you want. I don't even agree that mainstream media is still mainly liberal. But this is part of their plot, is they try to make it seem like normal things are liberal. Like they want to push, the Overton window to the right. So things that are either like centrist or just like, basic human decency, they want to describe it as liberal. So like, like fact checking, like they do this all the time. These fact checking websites are always considered liberal. Like PolitiFact has a liberal bias because, they fact check stuff instead of like, going along with any right wing nonsense. But fact checking is not liberal. There are some obviously left media outlets that have a very strong left bias, like MSNBC is a good example. But most media is basically just trying to, if they have a bias towards anything, it's towards money and sensationalism. I mean, I don't liberal is not the greatest term because it means different things in different countries. But progressive is not. I don't think progressive is um, a good catch-all term. I want to say I just want to say left because you can be left but not progressive. I think Bill Maher is a good example of that. Like I think he's clearly left, but he's clearly not progressive. So I just try to say left instead of liberal. But you know, in America we say liberal. That's just sort of something we've gotten used to. I think people are sort of getting away from it now, but you know, that's what I came up hearing is liberal conservative. Do you think capitalism will ever fall? I don't know, maybe. But you know, conservatives, they call CNN liberal, they call NPR liberal. You know, they call like every TV show liberal. To some extent, you can make the argument that Hollywood is liberal because because most of the people in Hollywood seem to be, you know, leftist. But like, it's impossible to watch CNN with an honest view and come out thinking that it's liberally biased or left biased. It's not at all. Like they are so annoyingly middle of the road. Like there are some people that work there that are liberal for sure. There are some people that work there that are progressives, but there are some people that work there that are super conservatives. Like who's that one guy that they always have that's like always defending Trump for everything, you know? It's the same thing with NPR. If I had to guess, honestly, I don't even know if that's true. I was gonna say if I have to guess, I would say that most people who work for NPR are leftists, but I don't even think that's true. Well, honestly, Snapple, that's I learned a lot about far left ideas myself just from getting involved in the political conversation on social media. I didn't know about a lot of this stuff. Like I didn't know about fucking anarcho syndicalism or whatever. You know, I didn't know what the hell that was. Um, yeah, BBC is a good analogy to NPR, I think. Do you watch Crack Some News or now it's shut down? More news. Yeah, I think that some news it was like very quickly becoming my favorite thing on Crack. And some more news is still pretty good, but it's not as good. Probably just because he doesn't have like a team of writers and you know that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Maybe he wrote the whole thing himself. I'm not sure, but the writing seems slightly worse on the new one, but it's still good. Like I still like it. R.I.P. Cracked for sure. Agnosticism is not a creed, but a method, the essence of which lies in the vigorous application of a single principle. Positively, the principle may expressed as in matters of intellect follow your reason as far as it can take you without other considerations. What do you think of Christian feminism? I don't really know what that is, insofar as if it's a branch of feminism that's trying to reform Christianity into being less sexist, then I'm down for that. But if it's a branch of Christians that's trying to argue that Christianity isn't sexist, then I kind of disagree with that. Do I try to reuse, recycle? I try to reuse things as much as possible. I need to do more research about recycling. I've kind of been disillusioned with recycling over the years because I think it's just sort of like an industry, and I don't know that it actually helps as much as they want you to think it does. But I need to do more research. I haven't done I haven't done research in a while. I don't really feel a moral obligation to recycle or anything, but reusing things is just convenient and useful to me, so I try to do it as much as possible. In fact, it's almost to a fault, because I can be a hoarder sometimes where I just keep stuff that I need to throw away. There are a ton of branches of Christian feminism. I've never even heard the term Christian feminism, so that's interesting. It sounds like, when you say that to me, it sounds like a group of people who are feminists, but who don't want to who have trouble reconciling with the fact that Christianity isn't inherently feminist. It kind of reminds me of like when I was a teenager, I used to call myself a rational Christian, a rationalist Christian, or something like that, because I didn't want to give up Christianity, but I also wanted to, I wanted to signal that I cared about logic and stuff like that. But it's really hard to reconcile logic, like actual logic and science, with Christianity. So a lot of times you have to sort of jump through hoops. I haven't heard about the plastic straw ban. I don't understand what that is. What does that mean? Why? And why does it hurt people? How tipped was your fedora? Well, aren't the fedora guys like all usually atheists? But I went through that phase too. I had my new atheist phase. I'm honestly like, I still, a lot of the stuff that I believed in the new atheist times, I still believe, but it's just been tempered by my experiences in sort of the social justice community and stuff like that. I mean, they can't use other kinds of straws. Like they can't use paper straws. What if all along God was real? Do you blame him for not being more apparent and go to hell defiantly? I mean, I blame him for a lot more than just not being more apparent. And I probably would go to hell defiantly because I think I lived my life about as good as I could do. And I was a good person. And if I still go to hell, then that's bullshit. The greatest video on this topic is it's called "What If You're Wrong" by what's his name? Scott. What's his name? He was like a big he's like an actor, but he also made a lot of atheist videos. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can figure this out. Oh, I can't remember. It's called "And What If I'm Wrong." His YouTube channel was called Theoretical Bullshit, but um Scott Clifton, that's his name. He was an actor. He may still be an actor, but he also had a YouTube channel called Theoretical Bullshit, and he made a video called "And What If I'm Wrong?" And to me, that was the best response to the question, like, what if you're wrong? What if God is real? So I should I would suggest you watch that if you want a decent answer, or at least the answer that I probably would give, because it's basically like, I've been a good person, and if God is indeed, this like omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful being, then he knows my heart, my brain, my mind. He knows that I've tried for years to do this whole thing and it didn't work out, and he knows, he knows that I've been a good person. I've definitely, unironically, with no reward seeking or anything. And if you still at the end of the day, it's like, well, you're going to hell. It's like, well, my bad. See you there. I don't know if I agree that the belief isn't a choice, but I don't. Or I think you get to choose the reasons why you believe something. Like, if certain things were less important to me than they are, then I would probably be more willing to believe. But well, I think the thing about God, it is a vague concept, but many people have described what they mean by God, and in many of those cases, I can respond, yeah, that probably isn't real. And sometimes when people say God, they mean the universe or the cosmos or nature. And it's like, okay, well, that's weird that you call it that, but I can get down with that. Nature is real. The universe is real. But when you start saying God is a sentient living being that cares about you and is all powerful and all knowing and omnipresent, it's like, well, yeah, that literally makes no sense. That's like not possible to be a thing. Made a I would like to watch that video about ableism and environmentalism, actually. I'm gonna write that down. My belief that you aren't eating Greek food. If I had some Greek food, I would eat it. Guess who's back? Incompatibilism is, what is that? Isn't that like, hold on, is that the opposite of compatibilism? Yeah. Makes sense that it is. So compatibilism is the idea that free will and determinism, is it determinism? Yeah, determinism coincide. And so incompatibilism would be the opposite of that they can't coincide. I don't see, I don't like talking about free will because free will, this is similar to what we were talking about with God earlier, because it's a very it's such a vague concept that I think different people mean different things when they say free will. If you mean free will in the most basic aspect, where it's like you have the complete free choice regardless of your circumstances and your environment, then I think that's obviously not a thing. Like, it seems pretty clear to me that that's not a thing. Like, every choice we make is influenced by a long list of experiences and things like that. Like, obviously, right? But that just seems to be like a useless definition of free will. So I guess in that sense, I would say that I believe in incompatibilism. But the problem is, one of the reasons why I don't like talking about it is, like, even if we don't have free will, I still think we should behave as if we do. Like, people still have to be responsible, personally responsible for their actions, or else, society doesn't work. I think that people are flawed and that people are going to corrupt any system that we make. So there are two responses to that. You make a system that's harder to corrupt, or like you make a system that is hard to corrupt and easy to fix once corrupted. Or B, you make a system where the effects of the corruption are not that are less severe than they would be other systems. Because I think humans corrupting a system is inevitable regardless of the system. So, and I don't really know the answer to that. It seems to me that, for example, corruption of communism is much worse than corruption of capitalism, like theoretically. But maybe people disagree with that. Do you think there's a system that's better than capitalism? I don't really know. I've never really seen any others in practice, so I don't know. And capitalism sort of refers to a sort of an idea that can be played out in a lot of different ways. Like, I think the capitalism that we have in America, even though it's not even full capitalism, is a disaster. But the ideals of capitalism I mostly agree with. Like, I agree with private property and private control of means of production, and like, merit-based rewarding and things like that, and hierarchies and stuff, like the sort of the general things that you see in capitalism. But it has to be controlled and regulated, and that's the part that we fail at pretty hard. It also has to be like, as much as possible, it has to be the political process has to be free from corporate control, and we definitely fail at that. So that type of capitalism, I think, is a disaster, and definitely there's something better than that. Thoughts on pedophiles? They're bad? I don't like. What do you want me to say? I don't think that free will justifies revenge. I think even considering free will, vengeance is a pretty silly and irrational notion. What's up, Chad? Don't conflate pedophile and child molester. I think that's fair, but I still think it's bad to be a pedophile. But it's better to not be a child molester than a child molester, for sure. I agree with you 100%. Healthcare should not be a for-profit system. There are a few things that markets are not efficient for. That's any like reasonable person needs to be able to admit that. And healthcare is one of those things. I think education is another one. There are probably some others. Whether or not something is a choice is not what determines whether it's good or bad, in my opinion. Does merit affects one's value? I sort of take issue with the idea of people having value to begin with. So that seems just like a really hokey thing to say. Like, value? Like, what does that mean? What is value? What is like human value? Like, there's no inherent value. Yeah, I mean, being a sociopath is also a mental illness. It's still bad. And they probably can't help it, but it's still bad. I, I'm not. I didn't say any person was evil, but it's bad to be a sociopath and it's bad to be a pedophile, and they should be treated, but it's a bad thing to be. Well, yeah, value to loved ones, but that's a subjective value. And anything can have subjective value. Just depends on who you are. Anything with a moral imperative attached is best not left to for-profit models, healthcare, justice system, including prison, schools, because of the perverse incentives. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that would be that's worth thinking about. I wonder if there are any exceptions to that. But yeah, that I like that. You know, it hit my ear good. It hit good. That was a bad sentence. Anyway, it's worth thinking about. Chad, thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm not really in the process of like literally unironically calling people evil. But I think it's, I think it's fair to identify when something is not good, when something is very clearly not good, and very clearly a bad thing. That it would be better if that thing didn't exist. It would be better for the world. Could you ever see yourself committing cannibalism? I mean, I doubt it, but it's not. I don't really think there's not because it's like morally, I don't really care, but it just doesn't seem like that's ever going to be a position that I'm put in. Electro Main, thank you for a $2 super chat. I'm out, T1J. You totally reek of awesomeness. Holla. Appreciate it, man. America thinks it's the best country in the world, and its progress seems to be hindered as a result. Absolutely. Absolutely 100%. The problem, even, and then this is, I think this whole like America fuck yeah thing is often associated with like fucking conservative rednecks and stuff. But even well-meaning, like intelligent, progressive people suffer from this. They're basically unwilling to acknowledge that America has deep, deep problems. I think a very good example of this, well, I can't even remember. Stephen Colbert talked about this. I think he was talking, I want to say he was talking to Oprah, but I can't remember the exact quote. But he basically said something like, America has the Constitution, and all men are created equal, and as long as we have that, we can fix any problem. And that's just like this. That's like this naive mentality that a lot of Americans have. We just believe that America is just self-fixing because some dudes wrote some shit down on a piece of paper a few hundred years ago. It's and it's like a lot of well-meaning people have this. They're just like unwilling to acknowledge that America is just fucked up, and we need to like make some deep changes soon. And I think that you're right for sure. I think a lot of the time the people who say this are people who are well off. This is complete speculation. It could be wrong, but it could be people that have benefited from the system. So they believe that the system can work for anybody, especially people that started off in a place of, in a low, like started off like poor basically, and then became wealthy or well off. and that sort of convinces them that America, anything's possible. America can fix itself as long as people believe and as long as you work hard. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. For every one person that goes from rags to riches, there are 5 million that are stuck in a cycle of poverty. Since you like fighting games, do you like the YouTube channel Two Best Friends Play? I do, indeed. That was one of the first gaming channels that I really got into. And Wooly, I like Wooly's channel. I like his solo channel because it's like pure fighting games. I think, I don't know, like, I guess I'm indifferent to the idea of borders. I guess I think they're inevitable. Well, these are, Molly, these are hard questions that we need to all talk about. And I definitely don't have the number one answer. But we need to figure something out. But I'm generally an advocate of fix something before replacing it. Especially if there are good aspects to it. And, the thing I was talking about before, and as no matter how rare it is, the idea that someone can begin very poor and then become very wealthy, to me, is a good thing. Especially if they become very wealthy as a result of them having a great idea or by working really hard, because like that appeals to me. But we have to make it so that it works for everybody and not just exceptional people. I think that's the thing. I think that's one of the problems in America is there's this idea. I think like we want to reward exceptional people, but exceptional people, like the word exceptional, like literally implies that they're rare. And so that just sort of leaves everyone else behind. So there's this idea that, if you just work hard and work smart, you'll survive. It's like, well, what do you mean by working hard? Because most poor people I know have to work hard, or at least they'll die. But also, some people can't work as hard as other people. Some people literally can't for various reasons. They might be in a different situation. They might be disabled. They might have children, a family, if you got 4 kids, you can't spend 12 hours a day working on your secret invention that's going to make you a millionaire. It just can't happen, So that's the reason that the term exceptional is used. Like some people, like for example, I'm not wealthy at all, but like I get to make YouTube videos for a living, which is something that a lot of people would love. But the reason is because I've been put in a position. Well, I'm not put, but I'm in a position where I was able to do it. Like I don't have any kids. I'm not married. I live in a state with a very low cost of living. So all those factors came together. But if I, like many of my friends, had kids or had a family or lived in a different place or was, in a didn't have supportive parents, stuff like that, I wouldn't be here, you know? So we have to remember that everyone's situation is different. And I think that's what a lot of people in America forget. There's not like one formula that works for everybody. How great would a world be where no people are poor? Yeah, I mean, that's like the main thing that I want. And I think the thing about it that's frustrating to a lot of people is that it would be relatively easy to accomplish. Like there's enough money in the world to fix that. But again, Americans sort of have this idea of only exceptional people deserve it, which is really sad. And here's the thing, like everybody doesn't need to be rich and everybody doesn't want to be rich. Like I think a lot of people would be cool if they were rich, but people just want to, you know, get by and feed themselves and have a good life, you know. Most people I know, maybe it's because they don't believe it's going to happen, but most people I know are not specifically like, man, I need to get rich. People just want to have enough to get by and be happy, you know. And there's definitely enough money to do that. What do you think about all the policies in place to apparently stop disability fraud? That I don't know specifically about that, but I know that um, there's I mean that's a trend. Anytime people are trying to get like food stamps or welfare or government assistance, they put you through like the ringer basically. That's why there's this idea about like the welfare queen, this person who's like mooching off the government and like using their food stamps to buy drugs and shit. Like it's such nonsense because you have to jump through so many hoops to get government assistance in America. Like it's so nuts. It's not possible for that to be a thing. You know, I think there are some people that maybe like cut corners and lie a little bit, but probably they're doing that because they need the money and it's so hard to get it. Like I've applied for food assistance. You have to like go on the website, at least in Alabama, you have to go on the website. You have to fill up all this stuff. You have to tell them like a whole bunch of shit about your family and your jobs and all this stuff, your income. And then you have to send it in. You have to wait a while. Then you have to do a phone interview, maybe even an in-person interview, just depending on where you live. And they ask you a whole bunch of questions and you have to answer them. And then they may ask you for more proof of income even after that. And you have to mail them more stuff. It's not like easy to do. It's not like you can just, hey, give me my money, please. I gotta go buy some drugs. Like that's not how it works. So I don't know. I think I have a unique perspective as someone who has always been poor. And so I kind of get like I almost like take personal offense, I guess. I don't like take it personally, but it really gets to me like this disdain that we have for the poor and underprivileged people in America. Because it's like all bullshit. And I know from experience, like I see it firsthand. But I'm gonna stream for about 20 more minutes, guys. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark. It's definitely been a good stream. I mean, it's good that we have public assistance, but it should definitely be expanded. And we right now we have a government that's trying to limit it and cut it down even more. So this is not good. Like, I mean, I'm of the opinion that there should be either either a living wage should be the minimum wage, or there should be some kind of basic income. Like, that's how far I think government assistance should go. It shouldn't just be like, hey, we'll give you $100 a month because you can't eat. I don't know really enough about autism to really answer the question. What do you think? I just think I think it's a travesty that when a country doesn't take care of its less fortunate, it like just by virtue of the fact that they are human beings, like, it's, to me, it just seems deeply immoral when you could take care of people and you don't, when you allow people to live miserable lives and die and stuff like that when it's preventable. That's just terrible to me. Yeah, I don't really feel equipped to talk about uh disability in general. We take care of them, we might not be able to afford leveling other countries. Yeah. Exactly. There's just an imbalance of priorities in America. I'd like to say that maybe it's better in other countries. Well, it's definitely better in a lot of other countries. Like, there are other countries where the biggest example is healthcare. There are a lot of countries where healthcare is basically, it's free, basically. Um, and to me, that just represents a difference in priority. Like, these countries believe that human beings have the right to healthcare, or at least have the right to access to healthcare. We don't have that in America. You know, there are countries that believe that everyone has the right to access to education. So you can get free college, you can get free university. We don't have that in America. We just don't have the same priorities, and it's sad to me. Yeah, I mean, I would pay whatever tax was necessary to make that happen. If it was 40%, then yeah. Like, it wouldn't even be a question for me. Yeah, I mean, I think that more taxes, especially like the very wealthy, like the super rich, like the top 1%, like they should be taxed more. Even like honestly, like in America, taxes on capital gains are very, very low. And if they were brought up to speed with the rest of income, that would like increase uh government funding by so much. And I think the argument people have is if you just give people money, that disincentivizes work. But I don't think that's true at all. Like, you'll still have those people that are going to go above and beyond because they have higher aspirations. Like, that's still going to be a thing. In fact, a lot of the people who do that are people that already are making a decent living. like like Mark Zuckerberg, he wasn't living in the hood. Like, he wasn't like slumming it up. He was a fucking well-to-do white kid at Harvard, and he had a good idea, or he stole an idea, but it worked out. But would he have been able to make Facebook, or even develop the skills to make Facebook, if he grew up poor? Maybe. Maybe not. Probably not. Do you have videos or a blog, Snapple? I can't remember if you told me about that. 'Cause it seems like you have you would have a good perspective on a lot of stuff, and you should write about it. I think it's kind of privileged to want to move to another country or leaving behind marginalized people who aren't as lucky as you are. I mean, I guess so. I don't necessarily think I have a responsibility to other people, like just to stay, just because they're there too. I would say thank you for the $5. But I don't know. I always personally believe take care of yourself first. That's always been my belief. That it is okay to take care of yourself first before you think about other people. But if take caring of yourself involves exploiting or harming other people, then of course don't do that. And also the way, me personally, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about me personally, but me personally, the way that I advocate and the way that I help is by making stuff, and I can do that from anywhere. I'm not the person, like, I live in America, but I'm not the person that's like marching the streets or like, feeding the homeless. That's not really my jam. That's not really what I'm into or what I want to do. What I want to do is make stuff, and I can do that from anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but most places. I mean, it's just because I've mentioned that I plan to leave America, so I wasn't sure if you were referencing that. We'll see though. I'm like 70% sure that I'll probably end up leaving, but we'll see what happens. I may end up being more useful here. Have I considered living in France? I have considered living in France for sure. But when the time comes, I'm just gonna do like a lot of research. Maybe I can start doing research now, but I'm not really that worried about it right now. Is there a place outside of America that's safer and less racist? Probably. My guess is probably, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know exactly where I'm going. There are a lot of places that seem cool, like Italy, Canada, Norway, Sweden. Not sure though. I was trying really hard to go somewhere that had good weather, but that like really limits your options when you're talking about a place that like a developed country that has good weather. There's not very many of them. Also, the more I read about it, the more I realize that it's not very easy to just decide to move to another country. Like, it doesn't really work like that. It's a lot of shit you have to go through. Do you ever get hostility from people when you tell them you want to leave America? Sometimes. I think that sometimes it's surprising to people because they don't actually believe that anyone would say that. Because a lot of times people are like, well, if you don't like it, then why don't you leave? And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. They're kind of like at a loss for words after that. the Yeah, I think the problem is that a lot of other countries are less racially diverse, which may result in them being like more xenophobic. So I'm not sure. But it's possible that America will be on the up and up after Trump leaves, because I want to think that Trump has inspired people to try not to let this shit happen again. So we'll gauge it out in a few years, because it's gonna be a while, like at least 5 years maybe, unless I like get super rich like this year, and then I can make some big decisions. But I probably still will wait a few years because there's a lot of things that I can take care of. I feel like, I don't know if Trump has damaged America beyond repair, but I think it was a deep wound that will probably take decades to recover from. But, we've had some shit happen. And we've gotten through a lot of stuff in America for sure. But it's going to take decades. What I'm hoping is that someone follows in the legacy of Bernie Sanders, and we have another truly progressive candidate that really challenges the fucking democratic neoliberal status quo or whatever. Like, hopefully we don't revert back to just the same old Hillarys and Obamas. Like, we need more actually progressive candidates. And I'm hoping that people have, and I think people have, like, we're seeing a lot of this around the country in smaller races. So hopefully that happens more and more. And if that happens, then, you know, I will have a lot more hope. I think Trump really just opened a womb that already existed. I think that's probably true. That's more accurate. Well, I made a Twitter post that was like, how I said, how does your country treat black people? And people from maybe like 10 different countries responded, and almost all of them was like, not well. And I was like, well, the world sucks. Favorite game console of all time is definitely the PS2. PS2, the god. All right, I'm gonna leave in about 5 minutes, y'all. So if you got like one more comment, one more question, this would be the time. Thank you for coming to my stream as always. If you haven't seen my latest video, go watch it. It's about The Simpsons. And it's being well received. It's one of my most well received videos in a while. It's already at 10,000 views, which is a lot for me. And it's resulted in a lot of subscribers. I'm about to actually cross 90,000 subscribers, which is crazy because I like plateaued for like 2 years, which is kind of sad. I mean, part of it was my fault. I was in sort of a weird position in life and my living situation was fucked up. So I couldn't really make the videos the way that I wanted to. So they were like pretty like mediocre videos for a good year. And I acknowledge that. So my subscriber count just literally got stuck at like 86 to 87,000. It would just like teeter between that for like 2 years. And it's finally growing again. And we're actually going to get out of the goddamn 80s finally. So I'm like pretty excited about it. And it makes it seem like that 100,000 goal is actually feasible now. So that's good. What are your thoughts on Cuba? I actually have not kept up with Cuba recently. Like, is it the same Cuba as it's always been? I don't know really. I don't keep up with like foreign events and policies as much as I should. I really want to do better at that. Do you think we'll ever be able to get money out of politics? Probably not completely, but we can definitely do a better job in America. In America, it's like literally legal. We can at least change that. But I think that there will always be private exchanges of money, and I don't know if there's any way we can stop that. But we can definitely curb it, and we can probably cut it down by a lot. The first step is like literally make it not legal anymore, but you know. Well, thank you, nice things. I don't know. I'd like to have some more subscribers, but you know, I want to make, like, for a while I was trying really hard to sort of please the algorithm, but now I'm just sort of making stuff that I want to make, and it seems like it's paying off to some extent, so that's good. But as long as y'all keep watching and keep sharing the videos and keep supporting, then we'll keep growing. It's all good. Do you see yourself ever getting married or having children? I'll probably get married. I'm not sure if I'm going to have children, though. Probably, honestly. Like, I'm probably going to get to a point where it's like, well, I might as well do it. I don't necessarily right now find the idea of having children appealing. And if I do have children, I definitely am not going to, like, if if I wanted to have children right now, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't want to bring a child into this like clusterfuck of a country right now. So if I end up moving to a country that I think is better, then maybe, or if this country improves or seems to be on a road to improvement, then maybe. All right, guys. Go watch my video. Watch my most recent video. Follow me on Twitter if you have Twitter, at @TheOneJanitor. There should be a bunch of links in the description of the video. You can check that out. If you would like to support me on a more long-term basis, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Even like $1 a month goes a long way for sure. Check out my merch, theonejanitor.com/store. I got a bunch of t-shirts. I still have a bunch of wristbands. I still got a bunch of these wristbands. That's just me though. That's what they say. They're $5. You can go to theonejanitor.com/wristband if you get one. I'm mainly doing these to get to raise money to buy a new computer because my computer sucks. I'm sort of getting there. I had some things come up, so I wasn't able to buy my computer yet, but I've been saving up money and I should be able to get it soon. But if you want to help out, you can do Patreon or you can buy a wristband. Gage Myers, thank you for the $5 as always. Yeah, I mean, being a minority is a big part of it. Snapple. Being a black person is a big part of it. But yeah. If I buy a mug, will you sign it though? I can do that. I think what will have to happen is I'll just sign it and send it to you, and or something like that. Email me about that if you want. hello@theonejanitor.com, and we can figure it out. But I guess that's it. Thank you, guys. As always, I stream every Sunday, or at least I try to. I've missed a few of the Sundays recently, but I try to stream every Sunday around about this time. Leon, thank you for the $1.99. So we'll be back next week, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.